Hey, vinyl community, Jeff here again. I thought it'd be cool to jump on another one of those thread thingies today. Like I said in the other video, it's kind of neat because it causes you to kind of go through your collection with a new eye and look for different things that maybe you weren't looking for before. Yesterday, the one I did was also based on album artwork, though from a particular art company. This one's going to be on album artwork also. Get the words out. English is hard. So this was started, I guess, a couple weeks ago by Andy Cloudy Mauder's channel over there. He was looking at his top 10 favorite rock and metal album covers that weren't Iron Maiden. And I've seen a lot of people jump on this, and I'm going to jump on this, but I'm going to tweak my title a little. I'm going to call it 10 Great Rock and Metal Albums That Are Not Iron Maiden Covers. Mainly because ranking is tough and it makes me work too hard and I don't want to do it. So I picked some examples, in my opinion, of the types of album covers you'll see in rock and metal, and other type genres. I think most of what I got here is going to be, I think we're pretty much sticking with metal, traditional metal, back things like that. So, but there's different aspects of covers and things that I think make covers unique, great, cool, things like that. So let's look at some of those. First one up. So, and Andy had mentioned some of this as far as albums that use artwork versus albums that have artwork made for them. You don't always know the situation with that. Like, was that album cover made for that album? Did the artist sit down and make that artwork? Or did they run across a piece of art and say, hey, that'd be a cool album cover, etc.? So, obviously, sometimes you can tell when they're customized. But then you've got some where the album cover / logo, in this case it's a logo, but it is the album cover because it went on to be different. But where the album cover is actually trying to tell a story. It's not just an image, it's got meaning and you can decipher. So I'm looking at the first Tourniquet album. Now, if you look at this, so you've got, we know a tourniquet is meant to stop the bleeding. The album's called Stop the Bleeding. Tourniquet you put on to restrict blood flow. Now, in this case, the tourniquet logo, as you can see, is like a scalpel, very sharp. So we've got the idea of a medical procedure. You've got the snake, which in biblical terms, is, in general terms, period. You can look at it generally and say snake bite. Tourniquet would stop the snake poison from getting further. In this case, though, because they are of a more of a spiritual related, Christian metal band, you've got the snake, which represents death. You've got the snake, in the garden, whatever. You've got the snake bites. And you've got the snake, which represents the evil one, who is death, etc., etc. And you've got the logo is restricting them with chains, pulling back, so stopping the bleeding of death, etc. You can go into all kinds of weird, and I don't know if the band had all of that intended, but the kind of things you can see means that there was some forethought given in this image. It wasn't just a logo to look cool. They've got imagery in there that is trying to tell a story. Now, I can relate to that because I do book cover art for people. So I am, tinker in graphic design for the most part. And I do the same thing. Now, oftentimes, I'll have some of my more, I don't want to say, they look at items more simply. They look at the book cover and they're like, yeah, I like that, but. And oftentimes, I'll stop and explain to them, okay, the reason I did that, and sometimes maybe it's not as perceptive as I think it could be, but there's always a backstory and a lot of that stuff. The reason I put that there, or the reason I did that, is because. And then I tell them the story of what my mindset was. Why did I do that? What am I trying to say in this art? I'm trying to tell a story other than just put a piece of art up there. And a lot of times I go to great detail to try to tell a story with little subtle pieces. So then I'll explain that to the author or whoever I'm doing the book for, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it, leave it. So sometimes, again, art is in the eye of the beholder a lot of times, but I see that and I look at it from that aspect. I'm like, what are they trying to tell me with the story? All right, so we're talking anything, Iron Maiden, obviously, no notorious for having great album covers. Just the artwork is great. You know, they're consistent with their artwork. But you look at other bands that have mascots that appear on all the albums. And I wonder if Iron Maiden was one of the first. I'm trying to think. And leave me a comment below, because at this point my mind was drawn a blank. Other bands prior to Iron Maiden who had a consistent theme, a consistent character, along that lines. I'm sure there had to be some out there. Iron Maiden couldn't have been the first. But to me, they're one of the biggest. But then you got other bands. Megadeth, they've got the same character. And I love this artwork. But they've always got, their main character on there, the skull guy. And anyway, yeah. So I like that idea where a band takes a mascot theme and they use it pretty much throughout every album. Another band that comes to mind, every album except one has had the Hammerfall character on there, and every time I just love them. Every album is just great. The Infected album was the only one that he was missing on, but they've always got the same character, so they've got their mascot too. So there are bands with mascots. Then there are bands that I think, as we've talked about, that I'm not saying that these are definitely just artwork used for album covers, but that's what you find, and it's most likely could be. This particular band has a lot of graphic novel artwork, and I have mentioned them in videos before. Cage. This is absolutely one of my favorite album covers. I love this artwork. I just absolutely love it. And a lot of their artwork is graphic novel related. And I know that they have some that is custom made for them. I'm not sure if this one was. Maybe they just found it and did it, but it could be. But I know that, I showed in the other video where I showed some of their albums that they have an album that's got them on the cover that says Cage. So I know eventually they definitely had some customized, but this may have been customized for them. Graphic novel artist. Anyway, so I love that where they've got something that works for a whole theme. Piece of art or whatever, I'm not sure. I love this album cover though. Babylon by Wasp. Just love the whole, it's got the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, etc., etc. But, it's very cool, very nice use of colors. Got some skulls in there. And it's got the whole, emblem, the whole theme going on there. This looks like something right off of a science fiction novel. And this is it maybe art that was used? I'm not sure. But I've always loved this, the Torment by Seventh Angel. UK thrash type band from the late 80s. You got, it's kind of, the Torment's kind of, I know it's going for a conceptual version of some of the things that you may interpret in Revelation. You got the locust with the tails that sting and the king's heads and the scorpion tails, and it's just tormenting people and stuff like that. So, but the cover itself, artwork is phenomenal. Love it. This one again, most iconic hard rock album. Growing up as a kid, saw this all the time. Thought for sure this was a heavy metal album. Well, whatever. Nazareth, Expect No Mercy. I absolutely love that artwork. I would assume this is probably artwork of the time that was used for an album cover. I don't know if this is necessarily them. I think of the same thing going on with like Molly Hatchet. They consistently use the same artist for most of their albums. And so it wasn't a theme of having a specific character, but it was always having that artist and that look. This falls into that category of that type of still look, and has always impressed me. I just love the actual image. Always thought this was a really heavy album until, find out it's not. And then you got bands that just continue recently to impress me with their artwork, and obviously customized. It's not like, I don't think this was just a piece of art. Even The Devil Believes by Stryper. Just one of the latest, greatest ones of them. The artwork, the intricacy, the beauty. It's a whole theme. It goes throughout the album. You've got same character there. If you can see that, just wonderful. Their past few albums have all been like that, and I'm assuming they've all been custom made just for them because they are just beautiful. Same with Mortification. I showed this, I've shown them before the other day, actually. The Brain Cleaner, one of my favorites by them. It's just so colorful and detailed. Kid reading a book, spiritual things flying around. It's just got a lot of details, lots of books. Now, I have to assume this one was most likely custom. A lot of their stuff is. This, though, I assume definitely was custom because when they reissued this on vinyl and CD, the face of the kid changed. So it seems like it's the original picture, but they went back and changed the expression on his face. So somebody had to have done that with permission, and it had to have somewhat been customized. But this particular album cover, while I love a lot of theirs, I love the color, the overall. To me, it feels like something not only Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. I love big libraries, but love the color scheme and just the whole, and the expression of the kid is really cool too. Now we're going way back into the old days. This is back before all the major computer graphics. This one always has impressed me. I love the way that this was done. A painting, I assume. I don't think digital art was a thing back in the 80s, but Walking the Razor's Edge by Helix. The logo and just the way it's the 3D, it looks like it's real metal, but it looks like it's a painting. And then you got the guys in the background. I don't know, were the guys photos that were just touched up, or is this an actual painting of the guys? It looks so realistic with the lighting. The coloring is amazing. I wish it was a better, not so slightly worn copy. One of my favorite albums and one of my favorite covers. Just great stuff. I'll leave it at that. I had some others, but we could go on forever. Great album covers. Fun stuff. Again, had to dig through and look at some stuff and really, reconsider and consider and think and things like that. So that's all, though. Just some great stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll be back. Rock on and rock hard.